Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk, this Monday edition. Brian Fisher is my name. The program is Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on Conservative Talk Radio. Great to have you in the conversation with us. Number to call if you want to join the conversation, talk about anything that we've addressed on the program today is 888-589-8840. We've talked about prophecy regarding the end times, second coming of Christ, God's plan for Israel. We have talked about the Michael Sam incident, NFL, ESPN backing way away from him. They're basically sending him back into the closet. We talked about the reversal on the part of SunTrust Bank with the Benham brothers. Talked about Eric Metaxas calling for the church to be the church and not be silent any longer, but to speak up. And that's what happened with the Benham brothers and SunTrust Bank. Conservative uproar. Conservatives complained to SunTrust Bank. They reversed field in less than 24 hours. And what's significant about that, ladies and gentlemen, that wasn't orchestrated by anybody. I mean, Kevin McCullough talked about it on his program on Friday. I talked about it on my program Friday afternoon, but there was no orchestrated effort to contact SunTrust. This is just ordinary people outraged at this cratering to the deviancy cabal, and they just called SunTrust and said, look, you stick with this. I'm taking my money someplace else. They reversed field in less than 24 hours. That's huge, ladies and gentlemen. Now, speaking of the weakness of the Obama administration and the vulnerabilities creating for our international affairs, let's grab clip number 6 if we can, Rob. Now, Susan Rice, she was the ambassador of the United Nations when the Benghazi attack went down. She was sent out to lie through her teeth on 5 Sunday morning talk shows, blaming it all on this video, which we now know had absolutely nothing to do with it. Now, when you listen to her speak, realize she's talking about an incident that took the lives of 4 American individuals. There were parents who lost children. There were wives who lost husbands. There were mothers who lost their sons. There were family members who lost brothers. And so keep that in your mind. We're talking here about an incident that took the lives of 4 Americans. And listen to how cavalier she seems about the whole thing. Let's listen.
The Republicans have, as you know, created a special committee in the House of Representatives to look at what happened before and during the attack on the consulate when the ambassador and 3 others were killed. Is there, what more is there that the administration has done or said that we're not aware of right now?
Dang if I know. I mean, honestly.
So that's her cavalier response. 4 dead Americans. And darned if I know. Now let's drop down to clip number, it's the Ann Coulter clip. Let me find number 12. Had this in the queue since Friday. But Ann Coulter weighing in on this, the weakness that President Obama is projecting on the part of the United States around the world. I mean, every day the United States loses more respect. People around the world do not fear us any longer. You know, it's always more important in international affairs to be feared than it is to be liked, to be feared than it is to be respected. And Ann Coulter, and listen to where Ann Coulter goes with this in this clip. Let's listen.
It's utterly pathetic and embarrassing. I mean, this guy Obama has done to America in 8 years what it took 100 years to happen to the British Empire. We are retreating all over the world. China's about to take total hegemony of the Pacific Rim. We have Israel leaving us. They're moving on. Now they're pals with China. The Middle East is just falling apart. We've lost our power throughout the world, and these idiots think that a hashtag is some major policy initiative. How about Michelle Obama have hashtag I'mMarriedtoanIdiot?
So that's the hashtag that Ann Coulter suggests that Michelle Obama post. Remember, she posted the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. Ann Coulter suggests the next hashtag that Michelle Obama post is I'm married to an idiot. Now go over to clip number 17. Rob, if we can. This is Ted Cruz on the floor with Senator Bob Menendez. Now, Bob Menendez, these guys are on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. This Bob Menendez is the chairman. Now, this is the guy that should have been removed from office. He's been flying on these junkets to the Dominican Republic, and he's been having sex with underage prostitutes over there. Everybody knows about it. He's been doing it openly. He's been doing it regularly, and there he is still holding office. That's pathetic, and that is embarrassing. But Ted Cruz and Menendez, talking about back to the Benghazi thing for a moment, where was President Obama the night that Benghazi? We don't know where Hillary Clinton was. We didn't know Barack Obama was. He's completely unaccounted for. And somebody pointed out last week, the White House has a record. They know where the president is at every single moment of every single day. They have got to keep track of him. Secret Service has to know where he is. I mean, his precise, exact location, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I mean, the White House knows where President Obama was. Now, there's a reason why they're not telling us. Now, we don't know what that reason is, but obviously, whatever the explanation is, it does not reflect favorably on President Obama. So here's Ted Cruz having a colloquy. That's where two senators kind of debate back and forth on the Senate floor about President Obama's whereabouts on the night of the Benghazi attack. Let's listen.
The senior senator from New Jersey did not answer even a single question that I asked. I outlined 10 questions that have not been answered. He is the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, and yet he either could not or did not answer even a single question, two simple ones, which are yes/no questions. Number one, did President Obama sleep on the night of September 11, 2012? Senior senator from New Jersey chose not to answer that. I suspect because none of us know, because the White House has never answered that question. Number two, do the president's daily intelligence briefings reflect the political spin from the White House at Benghazi? Likewise, the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee did not answer that question. Again, I suspect it is because he does not know, because the White House has not released that information. There are far too many questions remaining.
Far too many questions remaining. We have no idea where the president was. Bob Menendez, if he knows, he is not saying. Now, by the way, there's breaking news from Oregon. Apparently, a federal judge there has struck down Oregon's gay marriage ban. So once again, we see a tyrannical federal judge. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, these people are tyrants. And just because they wear black robes does not mean they are not tyrants. They are tyrants. A tyrant is somebody who imposes his will. A tyrant is somebody who believes that his will is the law. And he imposes his will as if it were the law. It's not. A judge's ruling is a ruling. Now, you got pretty far left-leaning people in Oregon, so I don't expect there's going to be any response to this. As I've said before, we need a governor somewhere who is going to stand up to one of these bullies and just say, no, we're not going to capitulate. We're going to defy this judge's ruling. I've got a column today, by the way, up at rightlyconcerned.com. Encourage you to go there. Probably won't have time to talk about it in detail today. But we're commemorating the 10th anniversary of same-sex marriage. We have same-sex marriage because of Mitt Romney. I mean, Mitt Romney caved to the tyranny of the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Council. They issued a ruling, said you got to legalize same-sex marriage. Legislature's got to do it in 180 days. They didn't do it. So there was no law. The law was never changed in Massachusetts. If you go to the Massachusetts Domestic Criminal Code law today, it still says that same-sex marriage is against the law. Didn't stop Mitt Romney. You had these judicial tyrants issuing this order. Mitt Romney caving, no courage, no strength. He rolls over. He caves. He orders clerks. You issue these licenses even though it's against the law, or I'm going to fire you. Now we got another one of these judicial tyrants out there in Oregon doing exactly the same thing. Let's go to the phones. Let's begin with Jane in Glen Allen, Virginia. Jane, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian.
Hi.
All the stories you've covered today have just been so important, and it sickens me to think I even voted for Mitt Romney. But I want to go back to the Bradley Manning.
Let me just stop you right there for a second. I've had a pretty vigorous conversation on Facebook this weekend about that. I mean, Jane, really, what choice really did we have there? I mean, at some point, it becomes important to cast a vote that will stop Barack Obama. I mean, conservatives have to start thinking that way. At some point, you may have to hold your nose to vote. You're not really voting for this guy. You're voting to try to stop an agenda is going to be destructive to America. So I think a lot of people just felt, man, I wish I had another choice that was realistic, where my vote would actually have a chance of leading to something politically constructive, but unfortunately it just wasn't there. And if the Republicans make the same mistake in 2016, boom, they'll lose another election. Anyway, I'm sorry, Jane, go ahead.
I think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to get another Mitt Romney. We'll get a Jeb Bush, but
I'm afraid we will.
and I'm sickened that I dragged my 90-year-old mother, who just died in January, up to vote for Mitt Romney. But anyway, I really called because I'm so very glad that you brought up Bradley Manning, because this thing of them paying for a sex change operation for this traitor to the United States when they cannot take care of our veterans, to me, should be a clarion call to every person who has ever served. It is beyond belief that they're going to pay for that, but yet we cannot take care of our veterans.
Yeah. I mean,
and that our president will not stand up for the veterans. We haven't heard a word out of him. How in the world are we ever going to turn this ship around? Well, that's really what I wanted to say, but I'm so glad you brought the Bradley Manning thing up, because to me that was a slap in the face.
Thank you, Jane. And, Jane's exactly right. President Obama hasn't spoken. He sent some lackey out there to say that he's as mad as boop about it, but he still hasn't said a word himself about it, at least over the weekend. All right, let's go to Steve, Memphis, Tennessee. Steve, welcome. Thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
Yes, I just wanted to say that we all know the facts of Barack Obama's past have been brought up in a communist environment. And I remember you saying that you had an epiphany. This was a couple of weeks ago, I think, that you said if a president actually wanted to destroy the country, he would do the exact things that President Obama was doing. So I just wanted to pose a question to you. Is it even possible that that Barack Obama is in cahoots with Putin at all?
In cahoots with Putin. All right, well, listen, I appreciate the call, Steve. I'll let you go because we're coming up against the end of the break. Again, who knows what goes on behind the scenes? I don't suspect that, Steve. I think Obama's weak and Putin is strong. And I think Obama honestly seemed to believe that there was something so magical about him that all he had to do was speak and people would just sort of grow weak in the knees and do whatever he asked them to do. And he's been stunned to discover that that's not the case. He's stunned to discover that other people are not nearly as enamored with him as he is with himself. So I think he's just come up against a leader who has strength, is willing to use it, and President Obama looks weak and incompetent by comparison.